Welcome back to Weathertech Raceway, Laguna Seca, round 3 of OPTIMA's 2024 Search for the Ultimate Street Car, presented by Advance Auto Parts. We actually, this year, are transitioning to call it the OPTIMA Ultimate Street Car Series, presented by Advance Auto Parts. This is the Classic Car Liquidators Autocross. Apologize for the technical difficulties earlier, and a big thank you to competitor in the series, Tyler Hawker, for texting me and letting me know that things were not well with the live stream. This is only our second event live streaming, so it's still a learning curve for me. I was wanting to do something a little bit different with the camera this weekend, get you a little better angle because it's just a stationary camera. But back orders on the, if you want to get into the weeds, back orders on the wireless transmitting systems, we're not going to get it here in time. It was several weeks back order, so we're going to have to try to do that at Road America, which should be a beautiful track to do that at. Given the elevation changes, I'll try to get up to the top of the hill on the Classic Car Liquidators Autocross at Road America and give you a bird's eye view of what's going on. You're at the starting line here, and this is the first run group that's on track right now. DriveUSCA.com/liveTS is where you can go to get the live timing. It's unofficial, of course, because competitors can hit cones, and it looks like we had a cone down there on that run, so that's going to be a throwaway run. Duke Langley, on one of his early passes, slid into the cones, took several out, and gave Logan Palmer a free look at the track as he got a rerun. Going to run down the unofficial top cars so far in this early run group. Starting with your defending OPTIMA Ultimate Street Car Invitational Champion, Bob Sobey. This is the fast time of the day so far. Bob running in the After Dark Speed GTS class, that 2013 Nissan GTR, 33,943. So only a couple cars made into the 33s. The other one, Lane Farka, running in the Lingenfelter GTL class with a 2015 Porsche with a 33,989. Third fastest overall and fastest in the 9 Lives Racing Lucky 7 Outlaw class is John Bickford in the 20 Tesla Model 3 Performance with a 34,293. Danny Weller not far behind him and an impressive run in the two-wheel drive Camaro. Weller in the 666 Black Camaro coming up to grid right now. And a big thank you to Danny Weller. He is my technical guru on this live stream. He came over and sorted out my audio issues for me this morning prior to going live. Weller with a 34,739 on the board. 5th fastest overall. 3rd fastest in the OUSCI eligible cars is Brandon Hurst, the 21 Model S with a 34,939. And then Jordan Priestley, 21 Model 3 with a 35,107. So we get a little reset here of the scores. Coda Atwood, 7th overall, 35,165 in the 22 Model 3 Performance. 8th fastest overall, Thomas Marquez. We just saw him. He's got that 2015 Subaru, the blue Subaru Impreza STI Launch Edition with a 35,446. Then Jason Trantham, the C8 Corvette with a 35,562 and 9th fastest overall. And then Scott Lejuk, I have to get pronunciation on his last name, and I apologize to him if I'm butchering it. It's spelled Lezchuk, so I'm guessing Lejuk, but it could be something else. 35,648, and then Frankie Trutanek just on the outside of the top 10. He's running the Outlaw class this weekend, as is Duke Langley. Duke with only a 35,891 on the board so far. This is Duke's first outing this season. Now, your best 2 finishes in this series count towards your season-long point totals. And the West Coast events are Thunder Hill, which we've already run here at Laguna Seca, and coming up in, I think it's late July, we're going to be at Portland International Raceway, which is Duke Langley's home track in his backyard. But this weekend counts. He doesn't have the luxury of running 3 times and taking the best 2 of the 3 because his car wasn't done in time for Thunder Hill. So it's a big weekend for Duke Langley. You see Farka on track right now in that Porsche. 34-2. Not going to be an improvement for Farka. He's got a 33.9 on the board already. On track right now, Coda Atwood. Atwood with a 35-165 on the board. We'll see if he can improve it. And I apologize for the video issues earlier, but to give you a little layout of this track here, you're at the starting line. You can see it's a hard left-hand turn into what they call the square dance. So you make a complete loop through this square, then some acceleration into a hard right-hand turn that moves you into an optional slalom course. Optional meaning you can enter from either direction. And once you get into that, it's a hard left-hand turn, another brief sprint to the finish line. So on track now, Brandon Hurst has moved into the top spot with a 33.424. That's a half second faster than Sobey, who's on track right now, about to cross the finish line. Sobey with a 33.2. So Sobey shaving tenths off. He gets around. He's got a 33.250 to Brandon Hurst's 33.424. Both those cars competing in the After Dark Speed GTS class. After Dark Speed, Ryan Matthews' company. He runs, ironically enough, in the Lingenfelder GTL class, but he makes performance parts specifically for Corvettes, perhaps other vehicles. I know he does for Corvettes because that's what he drives. So be sure to check that out. The cars that have the After Dark Speed decals on them are among the fastest in this series. Now we go back on track. I believe that's John Bickford out there right now. He sits 5th fastest overall. He's the fastest Outlaw. 34.293 on the board for Bickford. And following Bickford, Jason Trantham, who I believe is in the top 10. So can he do better than the 34.2? A 34.3, no. Bickford will not improve. Trantham hits that cone. We've seen that happen a couple times now. See, quick adjustment made as Duke Langley heads out on track. That first left-hander, that knocks a lot of people out of contention. You got to be very precise with it. And I would suspect that is done to somewhat neutralize any advantage an all-wheel drive car would have in an initial launch because you're going right into a turn. Caleb Kelly walking in front of the camera, going to gather some pictures for us as we've got Logan Palmer on track now in the C7. You can see behind him Duke Langley just finishing up his run. 34.8 for Langley. Langley had a 34.891 on that last run, or in his previous best. $34.874 on that run, so a ever so slight improvement for Langley. Does not get him around Danny Weller, who sits ahead of him with a 34.351, and ahead of Weller is Bickford with a 34.293, so certainly within striking distance. Lejeune back on track right now. 35.648, fast time on the board for him. And then Frankie Trutanek, 14th overall, following Lejeune. Trutanek runs in the 9 Lives Racing Outlaw class. 9 Lives Racing, manufacturer of aerodynamic products, wings and things, or as they like to say, wangs and thangs. And we've consulted Johnny C. many times regarding the aero rules in this series. Glad to have 9 Lives Racing as a sponsor. Trutanic with a 35.4 on the board. That'll shave about 3/10 off of his best previous run, but does not move him up in the Outlaw standings. Duke Langley in the 34s with a 34.874. So Trutanic closes the gap but does not reel in Langley. Top 3 right now in the 9 Lives Lucky 7 Outlaw class: Bickford, Weller, Langley. Top 3 in the After Dark Speed GTS class, you've got Sobey, Hurst, Priestley. And keep in mind, not everybody from every class is running at the moment. Looks like we just have the GTS, GTL, and Outlaw cars running right now. Top 3 in the Lingenfelter GTL class: Lane Farkas Porsche leads the way. Terry Breezy in the 2008 Corvette, 13th overall, but second in that GTL class. And then third is Mike Rovere in a backup Corvette, 2010 ZR1. Now Rovere tells me he had the orange car that we know so well, fresh build on it, had a mechanical issue at LS Fest West. That car went back to the Midwest for repairs, and he's out here with another car out of the stables. He's got another friend who he's going to be out here whether he had a car or not. He's got a friend, he didn't say who it was, is running for the first time in the series, so he's going to come out in support of them anyway. So those are your top 3 in each of the 3 classes that appear to be running right now. Give you a rundown of the top 5 overall. Sobey leading the way, 33.250, followed by Brandon Hurst, 21 Model S with a 33.424, and then Lane Farka in the Porsche GT3 with a 33.989. That's GTS, GTS, GTL. Then you got another GTS, Jordan Priestley with a 34.106 in 4th. And Bickford in the Outlaw class, 34.293. So now we've gone through at least, I think, 3 passes now. CB Ramey on deck in that black C8 Corvette. You're going to see him right now on camera or close to it. Sits 12th overall. 35.237 on the board. Foster ahead of him with a 35.204, and Atwood with a 35.033. And Trantham, 35.004. Lejeune, 34.986. So lots of GTS cars tucked right ahead of CB Ramey. We'll see what he can do on this run. I've got a partial obstruction of a tree, only letting me see to a 1/10 of a second, but a 34.1 for CB Ramey. That should get him around Foster, tuck him in behind Coda Atwood if it's a clean run. We're going to head up to the top of the standings now. Brandon Hurst in second, coming into this with a 33.4. He runs a 33 flat. So Hurst should move around Sobey into the top position overall. Following him on track right now, Jordan Priestley, the 21 Model 3. 33.3 for Priestley. So he moves into the 33s. We now have 4 cars into the 33s. That should get him around Farka for points and tuck him right behind Sobey. Farka on track right now. He runs a 34 flat, so no improvement for Farka. We'll wait for the scores to get reset here as we watch on track right now the silver Corvette. That's Jim Bowler running in the Outlaw class. And right behind him, Coda Atwood running in the GTS class. Back on track, Bob Sobey. Sits second with a 33.250. Hurst, your overall leader, with a 33.022 in the 21 Model S. Sobey coming into that last hard left-hand turn and the short sprint to the finish line gets him a 33.3. So no improvement for Sobey. Farka sits third with a 33.989. We got 3 cars in the 33s. He's got Mark 11 on deck. On track right now, the 777. That's Benjamin Zukowski. Runs in the After Dark Speed GTS class. Then Bickford. Mountain Pass Performance and Unplugged Performance, I think, are, and then you got Revolting Performance, the big 3 in the Tesla aftermarket. And I don't know that Bickford's got anything from Revolting, but he's got some stuff from the other 2. So on track right now, Mark 11 comes through the traps with a 36.8. He had a 36.826. So very consistent run for Golovin, but may not be much of an improvement for him. Golovin sits 24th. He's in the Outlaw class. Bowler just ahead of him with a 36.478. So that's the number he's chasing. On track, Duke Langley further up in the Outlaw class. He's your defending class champion, but he's trying to find his place this weekend. 34.874 on the board for Langley. Gets a little loose through there, but probably by design. Just ever so slight precipitation so far. The rain has held off. A 34.8 for Langley, and he just can't get out of the 34.8s. Weller sits ahead of him by more than a half second with a 34.291. Bickford, your overall leader in the 9 Lives Racing Outlaw class, with a 33.657. 37.4 for Logan Palmer. He makes it through the traps. I believe we've got Foster on track. 35.2 his best time. 35.5 not going to be an improvement. Lejeune on track behind him. He's inside the top 10 overall. 9th with a 34.968. $34.4, so a huge jump. About a half second for Lejeune. That's going to move him around Trantham. Going to move him around, and it's going to reel him in a little bit. Jordan Priestley, the next one ahead of Lejeune, has a 34.1 on the board. So your top 5 in the GTS class are Brandon Hurst, Bob Sobey, Jordan Priestley, Scott Lejeune, Jason Trantham. Heading out on track right now. That's Rovere in the backup car. Running in the Lingenfelter GTL class. That's a ZR1 Corvette. He's got a 35.749 on the board. I believe Terry Breezy was just ahead of him. On deck, Sean Kelly. And through the traps, a 35.4 for Rovere. So a nice improvement for Rovere. Does not move him up in class, but gives him some points. Gets him around Benjamin Zukowski, who's got a 35.6. Tucks him in behind Thomas Marquez in the GTS class with a 35.3. Is on track right now. It's Kyle Nemechek, 2007 Corvette. We had him on the practice live stream back at Thunderhill. First season in the series for Nemechek, but he seems to be enjoying himself. Anytime people come back, it's a good sign. It means they're having fun. They want some more. Josh Cummings, 21st overall for Cummings in the 2016 Porsche GT4. And behind him, Jordan Cook. I haven't mentioned him yet, but he punts a cone, so it's going to be a throwaway run for Cook. Will not count. Cook currently 15th overall with a 35.313 on the board. Marquez back on track. '17th overall for Thomas Marquez in the Subaru with a 35.385. Trying to get around Jordan Cook in the After Dark Speed GTS class. Cook with a 35.313 on the board, but that first left-hand turn got him again, so this is going to be a throwaway run. We've seen several cars, and it might have been twice now that we've seen, at least twice that we've seen Marquez knock that first left-hand turn green cone out of the box, and that counts. You can hit the cones, but if you move them out of the box, that's it. So now CB Ramey back on track. He's 13th overall, 35.237, so these cars are getting some runs in. Could be 5 runs that we see. Behind him, your overall leader, Brandon Hurst, on track right now. That Tesla has run a 33 with a 0.22 on the end. CB Ramey comes through the traps, puts up a 34.4. So a solid improvement for CB Ramey. Moves him up considerably inside the top 10, gets him around Trantham, gets him around Atwood, tucks him right in by 1,000th of a second behind Lejeuk. 474 to a 473 for Lejeuk. So the tightest of margins on track right now in that After Dark Speed Outlaw class as Priestley goes through the traps at a 33.8. Big improvement for Priestley. Gets him around Farka for points. And within about 0.6 of a second of Sobey, 34 flat through the traps for Farka. Not going to be an improvement. He dipped into the 33s. He's got a 33.989 on the board. So Farka searching for more time, just not getting it. Rain holding off for now, but you have to believe it will be a factor, and you say it's unfair to the other classes. Yeah, well, tough. That's how it is sometimes. Could be unfair in the Winrock Speed Shop Design Engineering Challenge, as the cars going through that right now are doing that in the dry. The judges are warm, relatively speaking, comfortable, and that won't be the case if showers come in the afternoon. As Bob Sobey on track. Sobey currently sits second. He's got a 33.250 on the board. Brandon Hurst in the 21 Model S leads the way with a 32.022. So basically, if he wants to get around Hurst, Sobey will all but have to run a 32-second run here. See what he gets. A 33.2. So consistent for Sobey, but not quite enough to reel in Hurst. Plenty of space behind Sobey as Jordan Priestley, the next car for points and in GTS, with a 33.813. So a big gap going back in that direction. Mark Golovin on track right now in the Camaro. In the Outlaw class, that's why you see that car running when you'd normally expect to see a car of that era either running in the GTS class or the GT class, Viking Performance GT class, or in the SpeedTech GTV class for the vintage cars. Golovin running the Outlaw class, which It's a very solid, well-built third gen, but it's a knife and a gunfight, admittedly. They know it. He's out here having a great time. That's what it should be about for everybody here. Nobody's a pro. Bickford, I believe, on track right now. 33.657 on the board. A 33.8 will not help him. Now, I don't know that these cars are getting any more runs. I'm looking around to see. They are not. They're done because I've got Dave Schatz on grid. So this is Duke Langley's last shot. He's been known to throw up some hero runs at the very end. Langley sits in 12th overall, third in the Outlaw class with a 34.821. And a 34.2 for Langley. Huge improvement. But guess what? Danny Weller in the 666 Corvette. He's got his hood up. I don't know what's going on with Weller. If he's got another run left in him, but Weller got into the 33s, a 33.989. So uncharacteristic for Langley, who has been dominant in the 9 Lives Racing Outlaw class. Langley not going to take the Classic Car Liquidators Autocross on this weekend. So it could be a shakeup. It could be interesting to see, especially with Bickford moving into the Outlaw class. Felt like he had a more competitive car in that class relative to what he sees in the After Dark Speed GTS class. It's tough to compete with Jordan Priestley. Incredibly well-built car, very fast car. Sobe, incredibly fast. So he moves into the Outlaw class and could be a serious contender for champion in that class, which would be a nice feather in his cap. He's already got a couple. He's won the good guys. We'll see how things fare for him this weekend. On track right now, it's car number 30, Mike Rovere, the backup vet. And ahead of him, Terry Breezy, father of Ryan. 36.4 for Terry Breezy. 35.2 on the board for him, so that won't be an improvement for him. Rovere out there running. And not his plan A. 35 flat on the board, so a nice pickup for Rovere in his last run of the morning. Because the 35.4 was on the board, so that'll move him around Terry Breezy for position within the Lingenfelter GTL class. If that was a clean run. I believe it was. It does move him ahead of Breezy. Also got him around John Lawrence for points. As we see Josh Cummings on track right now, the GT4. So Danny Weller's hood is closed. He's making the turn. And it's a tight grid here for a couple of those spots. Thomas Marquez heads out for his final run. Marquez with a 35.385 on the board. 18th overall. Won't take much. 35.343 is Brent Kazamel. I'm going to have to ask him. It's CAJTHAML, and we've got a safety vehicle on track. Heading to the big track, it looks like. Out on our autocross course. Danny Weller wisely comes to a complete stop. He's going to get a rerun. So he's going to get another look at this. 35.4 for Thomas Marquez. Not going to be improvement for him. Danny Weller will make his way back around and get one more look at this track. And the big news here in that 9 Lives Racing Lucky 7 Outlaw class is Duke Langley is not going to win it here on the Classic Car Liquidators Autocross. Well, I thought we were going to get more Danny Weller, but perhaps not. Maybe he's just pulling it off. Red flag conditions.
And as these cars come in following the checkered flag, we've got the safety crew out there on the track to help out one of the drivers, get them back to the paddock, and that's Jet 11 and Maria Mejia.
So there's going to be a pause in the action here. I don't know, Danny Weller making his way back down in the pits right now like he's coming back here. So possibly Danny Weller will get another crack at it, but here's the situation. John Bickford leads the 9 Lives Racing Lucky 7 Outlaw class with a 33.657. Bickford in the 2020 Tesla Model 3 Performance. Second is Danny Weller. Weller about 0.3 behind with a 33.992 in the 2019 Camaro ZL1 1LE. Duke Langley, third, off pace, uncharacteristically with a 34.210, the 2002 Corvette, and Langley was doing a sunshine dance before this run session happened, and for the most part it stayed dry. We had just a very few drops fall throughout the session, and I can tell you that because if it was anything more than a few drops, I would have shut the live stream down and brought the camera inside. So Danny Weller back on track. He's going to get another look at it. As we predicted, a safety vehicle for the big track came through the autocross course, disrupting Danny Weller's run, so he's going to get another look. 33.992. The number for him to beat is a 33.657. We'll see what Weller can do. Fastest overall, Brandon Hurst in the 21 Model S with a 33.022. Sobey second fastest with a 33.250 in the GTR. Bickford leading the way at 33.657. That's what Weller is chasing right now. Bickford in the Outlaw class with that 20 Model 3 Performance. And then third fastest in the GTS class and overall, Jordan Priestley. Actually, not overall, but third fastest in that points demographic. 33.813. Lane Farka, fastest GTL car, fifth overall with a 33.989. As Weller's off the line. Clean so far. We'll keep an eye on this. See if he can stay away from the cones. And he punts it. So that'll be a throwaway run for Danny Weller. And it wasn't even like he nicked it. He clocked it. Just for funsies, he's going to finish up the run. Because I bet he probably heard his car hit that cone.
We're about 30 minutes away from the start of the Haggerty Cars and Caffeine Car Show.
30, yeah, he knew what he did. That was a 37-second pass for Danny Weller, so he called it right there. And that'll wrap it up for this first run group here on the Classic Car Liquidators Autocross. We'll run through the classes. GTS class, Brandon Hurst leads the way. He's got the 21 Model S with a 33.022. Second, Sobey in the GTR. Third, Priestley in the Model 3. Fourth, Lejuk in the Model 3. Fifth, Ramey in the C8 Corvette. Sixth, Coda Atwood in the Model 3. Seventh, Trantham in the C8 Corvette. Eighth, Foster in the 2012 Corvette. Ninth, Cook in the 2016 Corvette. And 10th, John Lawrence in the 2017 Corvette. In the Lingenfelter GTL class, Lane Farka in the GT3 Porsche leads way with a 33.989. Mike Rovier second, 35.066. Terry Breezy third with a 35.266. Josh Cummings fourth with a 35.981 in the GT4. In the Outlaw class, Bickford in the 20 Model 3 with a 33.657. Weller second in the black Camaro with a 33.992. Langley third with a 34.210. Trutanek fourth with a 35.453. Galevin fifth in the Camaro with a 36.140. Bowler seventh. I'm sorry, Bowler sixth with a 36.268. Gonna have a little break, a little reset here. From my vantage point, we have Dave Schatz coming up to the line. So we're moving into the Viking Performance GT class. Dave Schatz, your defending class champion, the winningest driver in NASA racing history. The entire history of the sanctioning body, nobody has won more than Super Dave Schatz. He's a multi-time SCCA national champion, and he's out running with us in this series. We're glad to have him. See some precipitation coming off the car because there was a little bit of rain. Schatz top 10 overall last year in the Ultimate Streetcar Invitational. Behind him on track, Jake Jackson, 2018 Camaro. On deck behind him, Michael Arley, the 2018 Camaro. So, Schatz coming through the traps. He's going to set the bar for us, except he hit a cone. If he hadn't, it was a 36.4 on the board. And it's a new car for the series, not a new driver, Goose Maya, 2019 Camaro, and I'm probably saying his last name wrong again. I apologize, Goose. Mejia? I think maybe that's what it is. A little trouble. That first pass through there. Dave Schatz, it shows a 36.470. That's going to be a throwaway. It might not be for Schatz. I take that back. That could have been a throwaway for Jake Jackson. Jackson might have hit that cone. On track right now, one of the loudest cars in the entire series. John Faulkner in the 21 Camaro. So we'll see if the Goose gets loose. 41.2. And I'm going to head over because we've got a compact car, Go Moto GTC class. That's Austin Keys. A new ride for Austin Keys. He's got a Honda S2000 out here. Going to see what the field looks like in the GTC class. Just as soon as he posts the initial run here, we've got another S2000 on grid. On track right now, that's Hector Curiel. Then following him, Alex Kim. He's run with us before, but never in the AMG GT Mercedes. So thanks for bringing that awesome ride out, Alex. Great to see that one. I don't know for sure, but I get the sense that Alex has some selections in his garage as we see light rain starting to fall here in the second run group. So, 5 cars in the Go Moto GTC class this weekend. And I'm not going to be able to pronounce Matthew's last name correctly, but we've got a Lotus back in the series for the first time in a while. 2005 at least. That's Matthew Wackerly is how I'm going to take a whack at it, I guess. John McKissack out in a fresh build. We've got a lot of competitors this weekend, longtime competitors in the series with new rides. Great to see the variety. John McKissack has a 71 MG BGT. And then I don't know if BGT is legitimately the model of that car or not. I know it's a 71 MG. And it's a hardtop coupe. And it doesn't have a V8 in it. So that's why it's running here in The Go Moto GTC class. Matt Davis is finally back. He's been running a Miata for a while as he's been fixing the bad Vibe, the 2004 Pontiac Vibe. The Vibe is back on track. You're going to see him momentarily. He's on grid. Sean Fogley, the other S2000, he's in his car getting ready to run. And then Austin Keys in that 2008 Honda S2000 that we saw a little bit earlier. So 5 cars running this weekend in the Go Moto GTC class. That's a wheelbase restricted class, 107 inches or shorter, I believe. Non-V8s. Doesn't matter the year, as you see, you got a 71 running this weekend. And if you got an older Porsche, older Lotus, you can run those cars in that class as well. Nasario Beretta back on track. We haven't seen Nasario in a while. I think just work commitments in life has been keeping him away from us for a while, but great to see him back. Apple Valley, California, his home, not too far from King of the Hammers. And off goes Matt Davis in the bad Vibe with the back wheels up in the air. You saw Cedric Hunt in a return run. 345 for Hunt. Sario Beretta puts down a 42.704. Going to head over to the Viking Performance GT class. John Faulkner's first run is the fastest so far. He did get around shots by the narrowest of margins, about 300ths of a second, actually. So Faulkner leading the way so far. We haven't had all the GT cars run yet. And Eric Kellner adjusting a cone, so possibly Sean Fogley's run is going to be a no-go if he knocked that out of the square. But so far, 36.434, the time to beat. On track right now. Well, I don't have car 176 on my list. So I don't know whose car that is. John McKissack on track now in that MG. A lot of body roll in that car. Shout out to Adam Hanna, Silver Fox. There's the Lotus on track. Followed by James Pierce, series regular, black Corvette. On deck behind him, Jay West, who I believe might have been our first timer at Thunder Hill. A little bit of debate about whether I'm going to be able to show you any of the road course or not, just because it's such a massive facility. They've asked if I could go up and work the tower tomorrow for the Falcon Tire road course time trial. I'll try to figure it out. That's the best I can offer you right now. I've got some unique requirements logistically for this equipment to function, give you the live stream coverage that you deserve, and you deserve better than I'm giving you. I apologize. It's the best I can do at this point. So I'm being told Car 176 is Brian Riley, who was unpaid when I received my entry list. Car 762 is Deanne Camouche, 2003 Corvette. On track right now, 2004 Mustang. That is your Viking Performance GT class leader. And the last car in this run group, that is Matt Ramirez. Californian, a local. Dave Schatz follows him for his second run. And we'll see what Ramirez posts. A 35-2 for Matt Ramirez. Very, very solid run out of the box. If it's clean, should put him all the way to the top of the standings by more than a second on this field. Schatz comes through and beats it with a 34-9 for Dave Schatz. So huge improvement for Schatz. The few drops of precipitation we had during the first run have gone away for now. Michael Arley and Jake Jackson on track. So the top three has shifted. Schatz, Ramirez, Faulkner here in the GT class. Goose is loose on track right now, and Arley. Goose is inside the top 10 and 9th. Arley did not get a time in his first run, so if that 37.5 counts, and it seems like it does, that puts him all the way up to 5th position. John Faulkner on track right now. He was your leader after the first go-round, so we'll see if he shaves time off. Actually, he wasn't the leader because Ramirez had the last run in that first go-round. So a 35 flat for Faulkner gets him around Ramirez, puts him into second behind Schatz, who's just a tick ahead of him with a 34.985. Hector Curiel is how I'm supposed to pronounce it, I guess, on track right now. And give you a rundown in that Go Moto GTC class after the first go-round. Wackerly in the Lotus with a 38.271. Davis in second with a 38.842 in the Vibe. So about 0.6, about a half second between first and second there. Austin Keys just ran in the second go-round, moved himself up to first with a 37.3, so Keys into the 37s in the compact class. Fogley fourth with a 39.850, McKissack fifth with a 40.844. So that's where we're at in that class. Alex Kim is listed as exhibition. I'll get word from Adam Hanna as to why Kim is an exhibition. On track right now, Cedric Hunt, the Lexus, and Brian Riley, I believe. Oh, Alex Kim. Okay, so Kim out here in the Mercedes-Benz AMG GT does not have legal tires. That's what I would have suspected. But about the only reason you'd run in the Outlaw class, you want to come out here and have fun. And the challenge, I think, for Kim probably is he just could not find a 200 or higher tread wear tire and the unique size of that Mercedes. So if you wonder why you never see the AMG GTs running in this series, it could be a tire-related issue. I know the Viper guys have all kinds of challenges finding tires. A few drops of precipitation are falling again as Nasario Beretta is on track. We'll move over as we've got a bunch of GT cars coming through. Give you a rundown of where these cars are right now. Schatz, Faulkner, Ramirez, Riley, Antonsen, your top 5 so far. Matt Davis back on track. Give you the top 5 in the Go Moto GTC class as he's followed by Sean Fogley. Austin Keys in the 2008 Honda S2000 leads the way. Wackerly in the Lotus. Davis in the Vibe. Fogley in the S2000 and McKissack in the MG. So a 37.3 for Davis. Solid run for him. Gets him around Wackerly for sure. Austin Keys with a 37.398. I'm guessing, but I'm not positive, that if that's a clean run for Davis, and it is, the 37.308 gets him around Keys for the top position overall. Waiting on Fogley's score to hit, because I think he had a 37.3 as well. If he does, he probably got around Keys because Keys barely has a 37.3. And McKissack out there right now. Wackerly following him. You see that Lotus running. And a little bit more precipitation, so it's getting a little bit more. Not that I pull the camera down yet. 39.9. So McKissack shaves a tenth of a second, but he still is behind Wackerly, who's at a 38.2 unless he gets faster on this run. .37 flat. So Wackerly moves up to the top spot if it's a clean pass. And he leads the way now, unofficially, in the Go Moto GTC class. Head back over. Taking a look at the Viking Performance GT class cars. You got Schatz, Faulkner, Ramirez, Riley, Antonsen. You want to get into the top 5, you got to do better than a 36.379. 38 flat for West. He's not going to do it. But Corney on track with a 37.2. Black Camaro on track. That's Tyler Randall. Haven't mentioned him much yet today. 41.9 for Randall, so he's a bit off pace. .762 is Deanne Camouche in the GTL class. So we've got a GTL car in here. First timer in the series, and maybe that's why she's running in this run group. But Matt Ramirez on track right now. Head back to the top. Remind you that it's Schatz, Faulkner, and Ramirez. Ramirez with a 35.278. Faulkner just on the top side of 35 with a 14 on the end, and Schatz with a 34.985. That's the time to beat. 34.985. We saw a big jump last time with Ramirez. 35.6 for Ramirez. So won't be an improvement. Off pace by about 0.4 of a second for him. We'll see if Schatz can make an improvement. He's at a 34.985. He'd like a little bit of a margin between him and Faulkner. 34.2. Dave Schatz bringing the heat. 34,286 for Schatz. That moves him about 7/10 of a second ahead of August Faulkner. John Faulkner now in second with a 35,014. Ramirez back there with a 35,278. Take a quick look at the overall. Shots inside the top 10 with that 34,286. Next points position for him is a 208 with Scott Lejeune. If he can get around him, Shots will pick up another point. John Faulkner on track right now. Goose Mejia ahead of him. So it's Schatz, Faulkner, Ramirez, Jackson, Riley, your top 5 in the Viking Performance GT class. Faulkner with a 35,014 on the board. Needs a 34,285 to get around Schatz. $34,700 is an improvement for Faulkner. Probably will get him some points, but it won't get him position around Schatz. $18 cars running this weekend so far. Got a Bill Weber listed. Have not seen him post a time yet. In the on-deck circle, though. Car 187. Oscar Balandrin, 2019 Camaro. I'm going to say Oscar's a newcomer. Welcome to the series, Oscar. Behind him, in his first season in the series, Cedric Hunt sits 17th, the 2009 Lexus ISF. Give you a rundown of the top 10 here before we move back over to some of these compact cars. Dave Schatz, the 2022 Camaro, leads the way with a 34,286 in the Viking Performance GT class. Faulkner's Camaro is second, Ramirez's Mustang third, Jackson's Camaro fourth, Riley's Camaro fifth, Picorni's Fox Body Mustang sixth, Antonson's Mustang seventh, Arley's Camaro eighth, Curiel's Camaro ninth, Comlos's Camaro 10th, Goose Mejia's Camaro 11th. Actually, move him back to 12th because Oscar Balandrin's Camaro moved up to 11th. Jay West, 13th in the Mustang. Nasario Beretta, 14th in the Mustang. Acosta, 15th in the Mustang. Pierce, 16th in the Camaro. Hunt, 17th in the Lexus. Randall, 18th in the Camaro. And that is your GT class. Moving over to the compact class as we see Austin Keys back on track. Wackerly leading the way, the Lotus, 37,059. Davis in the Vibe second, Fogley in the S2000 third, Keys in the S2000 fourth, and McKissack in the MG fifth. Everybody in the 30s. Fogley with a 37.37. 37.30 is the time for him to beat. So he basically needs a 37.2. He gets a 36.2. Holy cow. And my timing and scoring just went away. Here it comes back. Austin Keys back on the top spot, bumps Wackerly by about 0.8 of a second, so a huge margin now. But we've seen big gains here as these cars are making their runs. 3 passes for Keys. Head back over, take a look at the overall here on the Viking Performance GT class. As Ramirez on track. And I have to believe Deanne maybe got caught up in design engineering. That's why she's running here outside of her normal run group. Because Schatz has a 34.286 on the board. Ramirez, the last car to run here in this go-round, 34.7. So an improvement by about a half second for Ramirez. Reels him in, if it counts. Score has not hit the board yet. Dave Schatz on track. Schatz with a 34.286 on the board. Fast time, and he's moving. I mean, you can tell by watching the car, he's getting around. 34.1. So Schatz gets faster. Ramirez ever so close to John Faulkner, a 34.797. Faulkner's got a 34.766. Arlie inside the top 10. He's on track right now. Is Jake Jackson just ahead of him? Jackson had a 35.518, 34.6 on that run. So a solid run by Jake Jackson. If that's a good run, that moves him around Ramirez and Faulkner into the second position. Faulkner on track right now, as is Goose. So Jackson does move into the second position. He posts a 34.684. Faulkner on track right now in third with a 34.766. We'll see what he does. 34.9. So Faulkner does not improve on this run. He sits third. Ramirez with a 34.797 is fourth. Brian Riley with a 36.125 is fifth. Cone down on the course. Corner worker comes back out. I'm thinking that's Hector Curiel that did that. Car on track right now. That's the 88, Stephen Komlos. He sits inside the top 10 with 36.4. Picorni just ahead of him with a 36.28. That's what he's gunning for. 39.1. Will not help Komlos. So as we've got the compact cars out running again to start, taking a look at the top five in the Viking Performance GT class. You got Faulkner with a 34.766, Ramirez with a 34.797, then Riley a little bit further back, well, actually a lot further back, with a 36.125. I'm sorry, it bounced around on me. Let me start over. You got Schatz, 34.178, Jackson, 34.684, Faulkner, 34.766, Ramirez, 34.797, and fifth is Komlos with a 35.650. Over the compact class, Keys S2000 with a 35.912, Wackerly's Lotus with a 36.289, Fogley with a 36.389 in the 2000, Davis with a 37.3 in the Vibe, and McKissack with a 39.9 in the MG. Acosta on deck right now, on track. Ahead of him, Nasario Beretta. So we move back over to the GT class. Fastest overall, Dave Schatz has made his way up to 7th now, so he's gotten around Lejeune, picked up a point there. 34.989, the next point position is Lane Farka. If Schatz is able to get around Farka for points. Jake Jackson is 11th. Davis on track, he's got a 37.3 on the board. The Pontiac Vibe. Right behind him, Sean Vogley on track. $36.5, big jump, at least in terms of time. Almost a full second for Davis. It's not going to improve him on position. Reels him in closer to Fogley, who's got a 36.3. Davis will undoubtedly pick up points, but not position within class. Fogley gunning for Wackerly, who's got a 36.289 on the board. He's a 1/10 of a second behind. 36.4 will not get it done. That's actually slower than his best. Wackerly on track now. I mentioned he's got that 36.289. He's looking for Austin Keys, who has a 35.912. As we've got Pierce back on track, followed by Jay West. Here comes Wackerly. Can he get better than the 35.9? 36 flat. So a couple of tenths for Wackerly. Does not get around Keys. However, he does undoubtedly pick up points. Chris Picorni on track right now. Your top 5 in that Go Moto GTC class. Keys. GT cars, Picorni on track right now. So it's Schatz, Jackson, Faulkner, Ramirez, Riley, your top 5 here. Ramirez, last car to run in this run group. This is his 4th run. Had a little hiccup in the live stream there, maybe? If we did, I'm trusting Tyler Hawker is tuning in and watching, and will give me an update if things have gone sideways. There was a little bit of raindrops. It has dried up. Nothing at the moment. So, for the most part, the first 2 run groups have gotten clean passes. Looking at who is yet to run today, you've got the No Limit Engineering GTT class for trucks and the Speed Tech GTV class for your vintage vehicles. Everybody else has made an appearance, so if the rain shows up for those vehicles, it'll be a decided disadvantage. If not, everybody at least got a clean, dry track in the morning. So Schatz made it into the 33s, a 33.748 on his 5th run. Hat tip to Dave Schatz. Jake Jackson couldn't get out of the 35s in his 5th run. John Faulkner's got a 34.766 on the board. He sits 3rd in class. We'll see what he can do here on the final run. 34.5. So it looks like Faulkner will make his way around Jackson into the 2nd position. Schatz now 4th fastest overall. Bickford 3rd fastest overall in the 9 Lives Lucky 7 Outlaw class. So really, points-wise, that's a 98-point run for Dave Schatz. Brandon Hurst and Bob Sobey lead the way. Amazing. When you look at the all-wheel drive cars and the Teslas that litter the top 10, the Porsche, Dave Schatz up there in a Camaro showing people it can get done. 38.3 for Kim in the exhibition car. Checking tire pressure. I can't imagine they'd check tire pressure if they weren't going to get a 6th run. So Schatz has a 33.748. He's chasing Sobey at this point, 33.250. About a half second. Don't know if Schatz is going to be able to reel him in, but already an impressive showing by Dave Schatz. Leads John Faulkner in the GT class by about 0.8 of a second, which in the world of autocross on a 34 second course, that's a lot of gap. That's a lot to make up. Cedric Hunt on track right now. 39.634, his fast time of the day. 38.5. So possibly with that run, Hunt could get around Tyler Randall, who's got a 38.531. Hunt had a throwaway on his previous run. Giovanni Acosta, series rookie on track now in that red and white 2013 Boss 302 Mustang. So Hunt, by the narrowest of margins, 0.007 of a second behind Tyler Randall. Tyler Randall still has his 5th run yet to post. Give you a rundown here of the top 10 in the GT class, sponsored by Viking Performance. Dave Schatz leads the way with a 33.748. Faulkner second with a 34.534. Jackson third in the Camaro. Ramirez 4th in the Mustang. Riley 5th in the Camaro. Curiel 6th in the Camaro. Comlos 7th in the Camaro. Antonsen 8th in the Mustang. Arley 9th in the Camaro. Jay West 10th in the Mustang. So the Mustang versus Camaro battle very much alive and well here in Optima's Ultimate Streetcar Series. Over on the compact side, as we see Fogley on track. Keys leads the way. Wackerly just comes out right now in the Lotus. 35.912 for Austin Keys. That's what Wackerly's chasing. He's got a 36.022 on the board, so well within striking distance. Fogley's 3rd. That last run was a throwaway for Fogley. He's got a 36.389. Matt Davis 4th. 36.594 for him. And McKissack, who has not come out and run, he's back in the pits. The hood's up on the car. 39.913, his fast time in the morning session here. Fastest overall here on the Classic Car Liquidators Autocross. Brandon Hurst with a 33.022 in the 2021 Tesla Model S. Bob Sobey second. 2013 Nissan GTR with a 33.250. John Bickford third. 2020 Tesla Model 3 Performance in the Outlaw class with a 33.657. Total of 7 cars made it into the 33s. 2 of them Outlaws, Bickford and Weller. Then it's two GTS cars leading the way, followed by a GT car, another GTS car, and Farka in the GTL Porsche GT3. So Ramirez now back on track. wouldn't say languishing in fourth, but maybe a bit of a surprise that Jake Jackson got around him for that fourth position, because the big three coming into this weekend that you look at be Schatz, Faulkner, Ramirez. Ramirez and Schatz at 1-2 in the GT points so far. 34-2 for Matt Ramirez. Big jump. He moves around Jackson, moves around Faulkner. Schatz on track now. Run number 6. We will see if Schatz has what it takes to improve on a 33.748. As a reminder, 33.250, so about a half a second is what he needs for points. That would get him around Bob Sobey. 33.6. So Schatz takes another 10th off. Makes his run even more impressive, although he's not able to pick up the points on Sobey. Goose is loose. He's back out. Faulkner on deck behind him. Your top three now. There's been a shakeup. Matt Ramirez moved from that fourth position up to second. Schatz, Ramirez, Faulkner, Jackson. And this should be the final run here. As I see Schatz pulls into his pit stall. Brian Hobaugh making his way over in a vintage car. Faulkner on track. He's got a 34.534 on the board. What he needs to get around Ramirez is a 34.254, actually 253. For Schatz, he's got to get down deep into the 33s. We'll see what he can do. 34.1. So Faulkner does it, gets around Ramirez, but cannot reel in Dave Schatz. Ramirez still has a run left, so he can get around Faulkner again. He's got his work cut out for him. My apologies for the interruption there. That was a battery replacement required. And I'll give a kudos out to that first battery in the camera. Had a good long run in it. I think one of these batteries doesn't do as well. Masario Beretta on track. He's followed by Acosta, the rookie. Ramirez still to run here. Davis out on track now in that compact class. Davis sits fourth. He's got a 36.594 on the board. 36.388 will get him around Fogley, who is right behind him in run order. He's on track right now. So 37.5 for Davis. Not going to be an improvement. McKissack still in the pits with his hood up. Now, Schatz is on the move again. But the vintage cars are all making their way onto grid, so I'm sure that they're done at 6 runs. High degree of confidence. Wackerly now on track. He's your overall leader. He's got a 35.820 in that Go Moto GTC class. And by my look, Wackerly is going to win this class. Nobody is going to be able to catch him. 35.820, he runs a 35.5, so Wackerly improves the gap and probably picks up some points with that last run there of 591. Your top 5 as it sits in the Go Moto GTC class, Wackerly's Lotus Elise with a 35.591 is first. Keys in the S2000 is second. Fogley in the S2000 is third. Davis in the Vibe is fourth. McKissack in the MG is fifth. Give you a little bit of a reset. In the Viking Performance GT class, as Chris Picorni's on track right now. And Matt Ramirez about to come up. Your top 5, Dave Schatz with a 33.614 in the Camaro. Faulkner second in a Camaro. Ramirez third in a Mustang. Riley fourth in a Camaro. And Jackson fifth in a Camaro. Ramirez has a 34.254. If he gets a 34.192, he gets around Faulkner. If he gets a 33.613, he gets around Schatz. He's not going to get around Schatz. I don't see him shaving more than a half second off in this run, although it's been dry. Much to the relief of many of these competitors, and I'm sure this last run group of trucks and vintage cars are hoping they'll get plenty of clean, dry passes. Ramirez makes a mistake on the final turn, so that's going to be a throwaway run for him. And that'll wrap it up. I'll give you the rundown of the top 10 here in the Viking Performance GT class. Dave Schatz, fastest overall in the GT class, 33.614, third fastest for points, so that's a 98-point run for Schatz. Faulkner finished second in the Camaro. Ramirez third in the Mustang. Riley fourth in the Camaro. Jackson fifth in the Camaro. Curiel sixth in the Camaro. Comlos seventh in the Camaro. West eighth in the Mustang. Balandron ninth in the Camaro. And Picorni 10th in the Mustang. We'll get a little bit of a reset here. See if I can pull up the overall for you. Brandon Hurst, 21 Tesla Model 3. I'm sorry, Tesla Model S, 33.022. Bob Sobey, second in the Nissan GTR with a 33.250. Those are your two GTS cars. Third in the GT class, Dave Schatz with a 33.614. Fastest Outlaw, John Bickford, 33.657. Then you got Priestley, 33.813 in the Model 3, fifth fastest overall. Sixth is Farka, fastest in the GTL class, with a 33.989 in the 911 GT3. Weller, seventh fastest overall, Outlaw Camaro. Eighth fastest, Faulkner with the GT Camaro. Ninth fastest, Lejeune in the Model 3 in GTS. And then 10th fastest, Duke Langley, 2002 Corvette, 34.210. Ramirez, I should mention, and Riley, solid runs. Faulkner inside the top 10 in that GT class Camaro. Ramirez just outside the top 10 in the Mustang. And Riley and Jackson also within the top 15, so solid runs for those. Question here, when you look at the cars that are running in the No Limit Engineering GTT class and the Speed Tech GTV class, will anybody break inside the top 10 from those classes? And I think it's going to be a challenge. Brian Hobaugh, Ryan Breezy, probably on that short list of contenders that could find their way near or into the top 10. Waiting for the reset on this grid. It should be momentarily as Eric Heller's waving hands around here. David Carroll in the Blazer had tow vehicle issues getting here yesterday, so we did not see him on the orientation laps. He's always a top contender. That beautiful 74 Chevy Blazer. Not sure who else we can look at in this final run group and say they got a shot at it. At the top 10, anyway. Justin Maurice has the look-alike silver Camaro. You get a little light precipitation falling again. Now, this has happened throughout the morning. We'll see if this continues to drop and drizzle or if it'll go away like it has in the past. Valerie Pichette in the Pontiac GTA running the GTV class. She was the first one through the Winrock Speed Shop Design Engineering Challenge, so she'll have no excuses in that regard about getting out here in time. John Niedermeyer, 68 Camaro, blue. Farrington here in the Chevelle. Darren Vogues in the red Camaro, 69. Thomas Adjutant in the Acadian Invader station wagon. He's on grid, ready to go. Garrett Randall in the beautiful 70 Corvette on grid. Mike Dapkus a little further back in the line at Design Engineering. I think they got 2 minutes here before they're going to get ready to run. Mentioned Breezy earlier. George Diaz. He's got the orange look-alike 73 Camaro right behind Brian Hobaugh's Camaro. Eric Heller is going to come over and have a chat with me. I'll be right back.
Shit another one out of my ass. They're like, because I made all 4 turns a little bit different.
Yeah.
And they can't decide which way to go on the slalom.
Okay. So there's no determining, the fastest cars you can go one way or the other on the slalom?
Because it's much faster and smoother the long way, but it's so much shorter the choppy way.
Okay.
So it's really, you know, what do you want?
Yep. All right. Very good. You think the rain will hold off?
I keep staring at my radar,
Yeah.
and it keeps going like this. So I told Jimmy, I said, you know, I think we can do 6 and get all 3 groups 6 dry runs.
That'd be great.
I think this is what we're going to get, is these little sprinkles.
Yeah. Well, let's hope.
And then if it rains if it does rain in the afternoon, it's going to have hot runs.
So a little update. I don't know if you heard that or not. If you did, I apologize for the profanity from Eric Keller. If you didn't, he told Jimmy he thinks he can get these guys 6 dry runs, every one of them in the morning. If that happens and it rains in the afternoon, they may back them down to 5 runs in the afternoon. But if it holds with these light sprinkles, everybody could get 6 dry runs this morning. So first on deck, we got Brian Hobaugh, beautiful orange 73 Camaro, perhaps the most famous second-gen Camaro on planet Earth. Thank you to Larry Chen for making that possible. George Diaz right behind him. Now, I'm not sure how to characterize these 2 shades of orange because they're distinct. I guess George Diaz is more of like a hunter orange, like a safety orange. And Hobaugh more of a hugger orange. So Hobaugh with a 36.8 to lead things off. Vogue's on deck. Diaz on track. Valerie Pichette follows Vogue's. And then I don't know if I mentioned it when I kind of ran through the field, but Keith Corrigan's back out in the yellow 55 T-Bird. Whoops-a-daisy, I'm being told that Eric Heller's profanity did trickle into the live stream. My apologies. Tried to move the microphone away from that conversation. Did not work. So light sprinkles continue, but so far a semi-dry run for these competitors. 37.8 with some smoke coming out the tailpipe, and not the good kind of smoke from Valerie Pichette's GTA. Tom Farrington on track now. These are bigger drops. I'm going to say that right now. This is the most that it's rained all day. And I will say if it keeps doing this, the live stream is going to come to an end because my camera will get doused with water. David Ball on track. He's got that 66 Pontiac Le Mans. Going to try to hold out. These competitors are owed 6 runs. I'm going to try to give you 6, but I might not be able to. If I'm not able to, well, I apologize. And I'm not sure if I want to run inside the car with a windshield wiper swishing back and forth in the afternoon. Hopefully we get some wireless capability for Road America if that becomes an issue. So your top 5 so far, top 4, in that SpeedTech GTV class. Hobaugh leads the way with a 36.820. Keith Corrigan's Thunderbird second, 38.9. Vogue's third in the red Camaro with a 39.1. Farrington fourth in the Chevelle with a 39.1. Wesley McFarland in that 74 GMC C10 laid down the first time. He did a 39.49. And I will again say the rain is as heavy as it's been all morning. Not terrible, but it's noticeable and noticeably coming down more than it was at any other point earlier in the day. So I'm excited. On deck, a new competitor to the series, Logan Melson, 2000 Ford Ranger. He's a Californian. And I know what you're saying. Yeah. Engine swap and a Ranger. What's that, another LS? It is not. It's a turbo swap. And not just any turbo swap. Toyota Supra turbo swap. 2JZ. I think that was a Supra, right? Certainly the IS300 had the 2JZ. But he thinks 600-700 horsepower out of that truck, so it'll be interesting. The rain is really, I mean, it's coming. And you can see the car sliding a little bit. Maybe the cold tires, maybe the slick track, I don't know, but doubtful at the rate this rain is falling that these guys are going to get 6 clean runs as the earlier groups did. David Carroll made his way through, 36.9. Hondo Miller on track now in his Blazer. And it's a smaller run group. Dapkus just pulling up. He hasn't made it through, and Brian Hobaugh desperately trying to get in his runs before the track gets too wet. David Carroll leads the way now, 36.965. And that's a big gap over Wesley McFarland, who's got a 39.4. Hobaugh getting in his second run. Garrett Randall got around him, 36.526 on the board to Hobaugh's 36.820. But the rain, it is here. Not sending the spectators to their cars, but people that have jackets with hoods on them are walking around with their hoods up because they feel the rain coming down and getting them. Tough break for these GTT and GTV competitors. It's going to hurt in the overall points. They may not have been the fastest 2 run groups to get around the GTL and GTS cars anyway, but some of them would certainly be in the mix among some of the top cars, at least above mid-pack, and it's going to hurt their overall points, and that's a tough break. We've seen that happen before to GTS cars that ran at NOLA Motorsports Park and didn't get a run in until it was raining. And it was a rough time for them. They did not get the times posted and the points that would have come with them because of the simple bad luck of the time that they ran. So the spectators out of the way so you can see the track and see the cars running again. Farrington out on his second run. You can see he's using the wipers. It's raining enough that the wipers are being used. Give you a rundown. Hobaugh got back around Randall, and he shaved a good amount of time off. He ran a 36.8 his first run. He got a 35.8 the second, so he took a second off. The potential was there, but it's a question of how much faster can they get now with the rain showing up on the track. Top 5 right now in the SpeedTech GTV class: Hobaugh, Randall, Voges, Corrigan, Pichette. Move over to the truck class. Logan Melson's first run in that Ranger was a throwaway. Same for Hondo Miller and his Blazer. So the only two clean runs were David Carroll and Wesley McFarland. McFarland on track right now, 39.49 on the board. 36.9 is what he would need to do to run faster than David Carroll. 37.4. So a 2-second improvement by Wesley McFarland. The water is not hurting him that much. Took 2 seconds off his best time. But that still puts him about a half second behind Carroll. But that'll be a big points pickup for Wesley McFarland. Randall heads out on track right now. He's second in that SpeedTech GTV class behind Hobaugh. He's got a 36.526 on the board. Hobaugh with a 35.801. So 35.7 is what is going to be needed from Randall. See if Melson can get a clean run this time in the Ranger. And great to see the Ranger. I think it's a viable platform. It's lightweight, short wheelbase. You get the right motor in that truck, and it could be very good in this series. The challenge is the aftermarket has not been as supportive of the Rangers as David Carroll tries to smoke the tires coming off the line and heat them up as best he can. So 35.4. Randall, if that's a clean run, got around Hobaugh, who's got a 35.8. So a bit of back and forth between Garrett Randall, Brian Hobaugh. No surprise in the No Limit Engineering GTT class for trucks that David Carroll came out of the gates running well. A 36.3 for Carroll, so about 0.6 of a second improvement for Carroll. Now the rain has not increased, but it's been steady. I would characterize it as drizzle at this point, but consistent drizzle where before a few drops on the windshield and they dry up and go away. Not the case now in this third run group. Consistent drops hitting the windshield and not drying. So David Carroll, 36.310. Melson's second run counts, a 38.885. That puts him into third. Gets him ahead of Wesley McFarland, who put up a big number, but it was a throwaway run. He must have hit a cone on that second run. Hondo Miller still to run yet, I think. I don't even see him on grid. He might have truck trouble. So Hondo Miller not on grid, no time on the board. And points-wise, man, if you can just get out and limp it around, just to put a number on the board, just to get those points, that can be super valuable, depending on the class that you run, just to have those points. You miss out on it, it could be devastating. Dapkus finishes his run. We'll come back over and take a look at these GTV cars. Hobaugh's on track right now. Randall's got the lead with a 35.49. Top time. Hobaugh had a 35.8 on the board. This time he runs a 35.7. So Hobaugh improves. He'll pick up some points. And we see Hondo Miller returning to grid, so he will make another run here and try to get a time on the board. Ryan Breezy put up a 36.83. Dapkus in his second run put up a 36.99. And Farrington in his second run a 37.401. So your top five in the SpeedTech GTV class. Randall's 70 Camaro with a 35.49. Hobaugh's 73 Camaro 35.8. Breezy's 69 Camaro 36.8. Dapkus moved up in the Javelin, 36.9. And then Farrington 5th in the Chevelle with a 37.4. Farrington on deck right now. Niedermeyer, no time. I don't know that Niedermeyer's here. Haven't seen his car. He might have registered and not been able to get things together. Starting to see some spray, I think, coming off of Corrigan's Thunderbird. It's not puddling up, but it, like I said, it's consistent drizzle. 36.6 for Corrigan. That's a big improvement if it counts, because he went from a 38.9 to a 38.1, a 36.6 would be a big jump. Could get him around Ray and Farrington, Pichette, Vogues, Dapkus, Breezy. So all the way up to third, if it sticks, if it holds. We'll wait and see on Corrigan. Wes McFarland back out on track in the square body. David Ball just ahead of him. And it does hold. Keith Corrigan in the 55 Thunderbird moves into third now. He's ahead of Breezy. Just behind Hobaugh, Garrett Randall leads the way. Rick Ray on track right now in the second-gen Camaro. Tom Adjutant on deck. And you can see on the camera lens, the water is starting to obstruct the video quality a little bit. I'll come out there and clean the lens off. But, again, I'll tell you, if it keeps raining at a much greater clip than this, I'm going to have to shut her down. So, pause for a moment here. So we will continue. But as the rain intensifies here, thinking it's going to come to an end pretty soon, at least in terms of the live stream. The activities on track will continue as they always do, as long as there's no lightning that would put course workers in danger. Try to get through David Carroll making his third run, so I'd say they got at least one clean run, but obviously everybody gets faster as they keep going. And that's unfortunate, but that's just, that's the nature of the competition. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes it rains. So Carroll with a 36.3 on the board puts up a 35.5. Wow, David Carroll, 0.8 of a second. There's not that much water yet if David Carroll's shaving that much time off. Kudos to David Carroll. That's going to pick him up a solid amount of points. Because when you look, a 35.5 would put him in second in the vintage class. Nathan Purd on track, and here comes Hondo in the Blazer. Oops, sorry about the camera disruption there. So I'll give you one more run through here as these guys are making their way through the halfway point, and then I'm probably going to shut this down for the morning. I'll try to come back this afternoon and give you what coverage I can. David Carroll in the No Limit Engineering GTT class leads the way with a 35.57 in his 74 Blazer. Wes McFarland second, 74 GMC C10 with a 37.054. Logan Melson third, the 2000 Ford Ranger with a 38.161. And slipping and sliding for Mike Dapkus. So a throwaway run for him. Might need some course repair work. Hondo Miller does get on the board. He's got a 38.525. So points will be awarded to Hondo Miller. Over on the SpeedTech GTV side, Garrett Randall. '70 Corvette has a 35.450. Brian Hobaugh, 73 Camaro in second, 35.729. And he just ran a 36 flat, so that's not going to help him. He's not getting faster. Brian Breezy third with a 35.894. Keith Corrigan fourth with a 36.6 in the